One of the biggest things that is going to hold you back from manifesting what you want is focusing on what you don't have. Focusing on there being a problem between where you're at and where you want to be. Where you are now, what you have, and what you want to have in the future. And when you have created this gap, that as you focus on it more, it becomes a chasm. That's where it's going to stop you from getting what you want. When you focus on the problem, it creates the existence of the problem. So many people are just thinking manifestation is I want something, like a tangible thing, and they're trying to create that in your life. And what I want to show you is manifestation is so much bigger than that, because manifestation is all about how you approach and live out your life. And it's just such a foundational element because we are living in harmony or conflict with the universe and ultimately with God. So whatever we are thinking about, whatever we're feeling, that is where our focus is going to go, and that's what we're going to manifest or create more of. This is the foundational thing you've got to walk away from this video understanding, is it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you're deeming it positive or negative. Wherever your mind is focused, whatever your attention is going to, is what you're going to manifest more of. What can you do if you are dealing with something that you're like, but Stefanie, you just don't understand. This is a clear problem. This is an issue. This is something big standing in my way. This is a problematic area. And you just keep saying it as fact in that regard. Here's how I want to break this down for you. The more that you're focusing on that being the fact of the situation, the more it's going to be prevailing in your life. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep occurring because you are collectively, your brain is focused on it, and your brain's job is to go out there and to prove you right. So it is going to go keep seeking out all the evidence and keep bringing it back to you and showing you, yes, you were right. This person is ridiculous and they're standing in your way. Or this is a complication over here, and because that complication is there, you cannot have what you want. If that's what you're thinking, your brain will find that evidence, it will keep giving it to you, and you will keep then reciprocating that and keep eating that every day for dinner and keep growing in that element that it keeps manifesting in your life because you keep taking it in, taking it in, taking it in. If you want different results, you've got to change this foundational element where it's starting with what you're thinking and how you're allowing that in, because that's got to change. Your focus has to change. Hear me say that. Your focus must change if you want to change the outcome, the results, the end game of what you're getting. If you want to manifest different results, you've got to change your focus. Can I assume that if you're still tracking with me right now in this video, that means that you want to change your focus? You're like, okay, tell me. Give me an option for how I can do this. So how can we change our focus if we clearly see a problem? How do we resolve and make that problem go away is essentially what we want if all we can do is keep seeing it. And that's where you got to start. If you keep identifying it and acknowledging that it is a problem, it's going to remain such. You're like, but it is. And I hear you because I've been there. I still get caught there, and then I have to catch myself and help to resolve it. Because if I can resolve the fact that I keep identifying something as a problem, and I'm using problem, but you might say it's a challenge, it's an issue, it's a stumbling block, it's whatever. But just run with me on the word problem. If it's a problem and I say it's a problem, I am full on believing it is, there it will be, because my brain in its amazing awesomeness, its job is to find evidence of it and keep acknowledging that. And that issue persists because I continue to focus on it. I am actually manifesting more of what I don't want. Can you feel that for yourself in areas where, because you keep seeing it, that's why you keep getting more of it. So here's where you got to try and get to, is how can you relax your mind, even in small increments? Try to get yourself and say, okay, for 5 minutes, like if this is a big issue for you, this is something you're focused on a lot, and you are taking this throughout your day, it's traveling with you to work, to your rec time, to whatever it is that you're doing. You're like always in the back of your mind, focus on that problem, focus on that problem, focus on the problem. I ask you to challenge yourself to find 5 minutes, 5 uninterrupted, dedicated minutes you can give yourself today, and then exercise to try and get that up in amount of time tomorrow and keep progressively exercising. And here's what you're trying to do in those 5 minutes. You're trying to go to a place where you can acknowledge your everything else in your life and acknowledge that problem doesn't exist. It means for 5 minutes, you're not going to focus on that issue. You're not going to think about it. You're not going to dwell on it. If it comes back up into your mind, that 5 minutes has been interrupted. You need to restart. This is a powerful challenge, and this can feel so exhausting to you to try and do in the beginning because you're like, ugh, and it keeps snapping back in. Your brain is like coming back. It's like this little rubber band snapping back in, and it keeps wanting to bring up and remind you, oh yeah, well, can't just smell the roses right now because those roses remind you of so-and-so and that person's driving you crazy. It's so amazing how many ways your brain will find evidence of all the things around you that remind you of the problem. So, and I've been in this case many times, and with people and with things, and so I acknowledge it. I know how painful it can be to just let your mind relax and for the time being, not focus at all on that person or that issue, whatever it is that's coming up as an issue for you. But this is where you need to take your brain. You've got to stop focusing on the problem. You've got to give yourself some relief there to expand, to say, I just lived the last 5 minutes without this being a problem in my life. If I can live without this problem existing for 5 minutes, maybe I can get to an hour, a half a day, a whole entire day without ever thinking and realizing this problem. What did that feel like? I would like to focus on creating more of that. And when you can get to a place where you can expand, you can keep increasing the amount that you can go without this being a problem. What you're going to realize, if you allow yourself to realize in that moment when you are not focused on the problem, afterwards you can have a reflection and go, the world didn't come to an end. I didn't stop existing. Life could still function without this problem. So is it possible that this doesn't have to be a problem in my life? And the reason we don't just jump to just saying it doesn't have to be a problem is because you're probably like, yeah, I could acknowledge that this person is not a problem for everyone in the world. So I have evidence that this person isn't necessarily the problem for everybody. But I don't believe that for myself. And that's just like in any manifestation. We have to believe it's possible. But what's the second part? We have to believe it's possible for us. We have to full on acceptance that we are willing to welcome that into our lives. I believe it's possible to earn $1 million in a day. I know people who have accomplished and achieved earning $1 million. Like I've had ability to actually talk to these people. They are legit, real, honest to goodness people. But I'm not there yet because I'm like, oh, what, how would that be possible for me? So I have full on belief it's possible, but I don't believe yet it's possible for me. And I'm not ready and open to expanding that realm yet. So you believing it's possible is not the same as you believe it's possible for yourself. So that's why we don't just go to you trying to excuse the problem, because that's like sweeping it under the rug. It's still there. It's still dirty. Like it didn't take away the problem. You've got to resolve the issue. And by resolve, I mean it actually dissolves itself and can eliminate when you don't have to keep focusing on it all the time. You give yourself this space, this allowance to start to live your life without the problem being there. And now you can start to open up and expand. And like anything else, you are just exercising this muscle, exercising to the point that you can start to spend more and more time living without it. And if you can do that and you can see for yourself, I've made it an hour, I've made it half a day, I've went 3 days, I made it a week, whatever it is. Eventually, that problem grows smaller and smaller because you're not feeding it. You're not continuing to focus on it and keep fueling it, right? It needs your energy to sustain it because that issue is only an issue so long as it perpetuates from your mind, you are focused on it, and it grows for you. Let it go do its own thing. Let it go have its life on its own. It doesn't have to continually impact you. In closing, let me share why this method is so much more effective than sitting down and just journaling out your thoughts about your problem. When you do that, even if you're just kind of dumping the thoughts out, you are continuing in that moment to focus on the problem. Do you see that? By you spinning and writing out all your thoughts about the problem, you are one, acknowledging that it is a problem, and you're like defining it, you're explaining it, you're trying to justify however it's coming out of your head. There's nothing wrong with journaling exercises. I'm all in for that. You know I'm a big fan of getting things out of my head and down onto paper and allowing myself to process. But so many times when it's something negative that you're entirely focused on, that kind of an exercise can continue to keep you focused there and keep you thinking about it. I have had issues in relationships I've had issues with like policies and structures and how things work in a particular job or contract. And it's like, as long as I continued to focus on it, it continued to be there because I was giving it. I was fueling that flame. It kept growing because I was focused there. But when I learned how to deviate and when I learned how to take my focus away from it, stop acknowledging it as a problem, stop labeling it that way, and allow myself space to experience it in another way, that's when I could resolve it. And then I had clarity for what I needed to do, if there was anything that needed to be done, or if it was even just what I needed to do was step away from this, not be a part of it, not engage, not add more to this by complicating the issue. Because I'm not coaching you one-on-one, I'm not able to give you specific tangibles to your situation, but I think the generalized concept you should be able to get. The more you focus on the problem, the more it's going to exist. The more you even call it a problem and identify it as such, you are labeling it and your brain is going to go find evidence of it. That space to get away from it, to clear your mind, to experience life without this being a problem for you.